Hey! This is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Smackdown from October 29th, 2021. How was the show? It was a bunch of stuff that on the surface made sense. But then when you pulled on any kind of string, it all comes apart like a cheap old sweater. Now, we're on FS1. Notice a couple of interesting things. One, last time they were on FS1, they went head up with Rampage, and we're going to extend the show 30 minutes, and we're going to do it without commercials, and we're going to show Tony Khan what's up, and blah, blah, blah. And this time they're not doing any of it. What does that tell me? It tells me that AEW whooped their candy ass, and they didn't want any piece of them. Is that accurate? I think just by acknowledging AEW, they made a mistake. And I think that the fact that they tried to get ahead and release the sheer numbers of viewers to try to mitigate the damage, that in reality, the demo, now I know a lot of wrestling fans and wrestling people, your eyes cross when people talk about the demos. Who really cares about the demos? I'll tell you who cares about these demos. The 18 to 49 listener, for all intents and purposes, when it comes to networks, television stations, and advertisers, is the only number that really matters. If it was always sheer number of viewers, Murder, She Wrote would still be on the air. They would find a way to bring back Matlock. But the truth is, if it ain't new, it's through, and younger viewers are where it is at. So the fact that AEW was able to hang with Rampage, their lowest rated television show, in a horrible graveyard time slot of Friday at 10, and they were able to beat SmackDown, who threw a segment with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, their number 1 and number 2 stars, undeniably, and then let the two of their most popular women stars just go at it. And they're getting beaten by the likes of a CM Punk squash match and Ruby Soho against, wasn't it, Penelope Ford? What? And so they didn't even try it this time. This time they ran Talking Smack, their little freaking vlog show or whatever. I mean, they didn't even try. And again, people can flex all they want. People can say what they want. But at the end of the day, if they truly won, and if they are on Fox Sports 1, who will allow them to do just about anything that they want? Because getting SmackDown for Fox Sports 1 is a huge get for that station for the week. Why didn't they do it again? Okay, WWE stans. Now that you're nice and mad, let's jump into the show. It was a Halloween-themed show. A trick-or-treat street fight is going to happen. What? A trick-or-treat street fight? It sounded cooler when Chucky introduced it on NXT, if I'm being honest. By the way, Performer of the Week for the WWE is Chucky. Chucky hosting the NXT show. He was so enthusiastic. You're never going to replace Shotzi Blackheart, who did such a good job the year before. And by the way, Shotzi did some big stuff on this show. We're going to talk about it. But Chucky was shockingly good. And Chucky, by the way, I'm talking to my child over here. Chucky was once involved in a segment in World Championship Wrestling in the year 2000. So this is more than 20 years ago. Chucky had some kind of weird angle with Rick Steiner, one of the wrestlers, where they would just have this laughter go through the arena for like a month every time Rick Steiner would do something. And Rick Steiner was like, "Who are you?" And then right before they were going to premiere this Chucky movie, Chucky shows up on the screen. And they let Rick Steiner say stuff at Chucky. One, you're a professional wrestler yelling at Chucky. So you've already lost. Can we agree on that? Yes. But then Chucky was allowed to improvise. Now, a lot of people don't know this. They do know that the guy who's always voiced Chucky continues to voice him, which I think is amazing that they bothered to get him. And now he's put out 5 billion movies because they just keep cranking them out. Bride of Chucky, Son of Chucky, Chucky's Sperm, whatever. They keep making Chucky movies. And now they have this Chucky series on USA, which, by the way, I can't believe I'm saying this, is good. It's like really good. It reminds me of how like when they were like, we're gonna have this Purge series on television, and I'm like, it's gonna be awful. And then it ended up being, I actually preferred it over like 2 of the movies. It's really good. So anyway, so Chucky was allowed to improvise on the microphone against Rick Steiner. And Chucky whipped his ass. Like Chucky like roasted Rick Steiner and beat him. And then Chucky hosted NXT and was like way more enthusiastic than most of the performers. Folks, quit getting embarrassed by Chucky. WWE, I get it, he's on USA Network, and you probably were like, this is dumb. I loved all the pictures of the NXT wrestlers posing with Chucky in that like photo studio. How sad. Anyway, so we're going to have a Halloween-themed trick-or-treat street fight. Here comes a Charlotte Flair to a very mixed reaction, which is a nice way of saying people were like, She talks a bunch of smack, and she's meh. And then Sasha Banks is there, and everybody's happy about that. So I guess the Sasha Banks full face thing has happened. Okay. 'Tis what it is. And then, but Charlotte's got to have her match against Shotzi. Shotzi Blackheart, who we love. One negative thing about Shotzi Blackheart, I should probably not put her business out on the street, but it's what I do in these videos. It's why people like them. Shotzi used to always go to the No Peace Underground shows that I would go to in Orlando at the Sound Bar. And it was always great to see her. When she was with NXT, Shotzi would show up at these things, along with like other NXT people. But since she got moved to Smackdown, I guess she can no longer go, perhaps, because I haven't seen Shotzi at the last couple. And it makes me sad, though I do understand you got to protect that money, and you don't want to alienate anybody. At the same time, I think it does show that Shotzi Blackheart really does care about the indie scene of which she was derived and learned her trade. Anyway, Shotzi and Flair. Shotzi has her best singles match that I've ever seen her have in NXT or WWE. Charlotte Flair is good in that ring, and there's no way. But Shotzi gets distracted because it's WWE and everybody's dumb, and Charlotte Flair wins. But then Shotzi beats up Banks. So now Shotzi is a heel, even though the crowd loves her. Again, it's one of those things that on the surface seems like this cool thing, and it's great because now Shotzi will get a push and she'll get in a feud with Sasha Banks, and that'll be good for her. But then you're like, why did they go the route of turning her heel when the crowd so obviously is into her? And everything about her entrance, I come to the ring in a mini tank, and I cosplay. I'm supposed to boo a mini tank that fires fireworks. I'm supposed to boo the green-haired girl that cosplays and goes, oh, like, and her name is Shotzi Blackheart. I'm not gonna boo Shotzi Blackheart. And how hard it is, so much harder to create a wrestler or a persona that people love as opposed to hate, especially in the modern game. I think you got to be real careful about those heel turns, buddy. I think you got to be real careful. Aren't we fighting that out with Becky Lynch? In any case, we're backstage with Jeff Hardy. He's back on Smackdown. Moss tells a bad Halloween joke. I begin to hate my life. I realized that AEW did funny stuff with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and the Ghostbusters and one of the Dark Order dressed as Brandon Cutler, which made me laugh. It is what it is. I know you're like, why are you comparing WWE to AEW? Because that's what people do. And it's where my mind goes, because it's where most people's mind goes, I would suspect. So what sanctions are going to be announced against Brock Lesnar? Who cares? But that's what they're promoting. We see Brock Lesnar in the Bloodline, Brock Lesnar throwing around Adam Pearce. So now Pearce says, in addition to the suspension, Lesnar has been fined $1 million. This made me think of this. You know, back in the day, they would always announce all this money stuff with wrestlers, right? They called it the pay window. If you win, you got to go to the pay window. And they would have like, whoever wins this battle royal gets a Cadillac and $25,000. But in this day and age of no kayfabe, right? They never talk about money anymore because we realize all these guys are just under contract, and like this idea that you get paid more to win a fake fight is stupid. And you know what else is stupid? This idea of fining a performer. Like, bro. How they want to know from Heyman how Lesnar is going to respond. Heyman gets flustered and eventually doesn't want to talk. Drew McIntyre against Mustafa Ali. Drew McIntyre wins. Mustafa Ali does a good show. Mustafa Ali says, "You're booing me because my name is Mustafa Ali." Ooh, were there minor racial implications there? No, because that would be too cool and interesting. King Xavier Woods, which makes me so happy to say, let me say it one more time. King Xavier Woods had his King of the Ring coronation ceremony last week with Kofi Kingston. And then they do this awesome thing where Xavier Woods, where Kofi Kingston kneels in front of him and he declares him the Hand of the King, invoking the first 7 seasons of Game of Thrones and perhaps in a little way erasing season 8. Let us hope. Let us pray. Anyway, it's really cool, and they set up another match between them and the Usos, but I ain't mad at it because that's their best hand to play. That's their best pitch. We get a coming soon vignette for Xia Li. We have to make sure we break all the Chinese wrestlers up. Thanks for that. It's great. Predict great things for Xia Li. That's sarcasm. We get a video package looking at how the new eras for Raw and SmackDown began last week. What? Weird. If you watch SmackDown, guarantee you watch Raw, because now SmackDown gets bigger ratings than Raw. So what the hell are you showing us stuff that... Trick or Treat Street Fight. Well, this is going to be awesome, right? It could be. Oh, it's a stipulation match. Who's it between, Steve? Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura against Happy Baron Corbin and Madcap Moss. They sound like crappy Dick Tracy villains. Let me say those names again. Rick Boogs. If that isn't a Dick Tracy villain, I don't know what is. What does he look like? He's got kind of a mushed up face. He kind of looks like a blobfish come to life. That's Boogs, right? Hey, Boogs, and Dick Tracy's going to talk into his watch. I got Boogs here, and he's trying to pay off the police chief, right? And then you got Shinsuke Nakamura. Well, he's Japanese, and this is the 20s and 30s, so he's the Yellow Peril, right? In fact, they would probably call him something really racist like the Yellow Peril, Shinsuke Nakamura. And then he'd be like, very good, Dick Tracy. I put you in death trap. Ha, 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 ha. Something where they got him like tied up with ramen noodles. Something racist like that. And then they're taking on Happy Baron Corbin. And of course, that is an absolute Dick Tracy name. Happy Baron Corbin. And he would have this perpetual grin on his face. And then comic book geeks would argue whether he was the biggest influence of the Joker and all this kind of stuff, right? And then Madcap Moss. Madcap. Who uses the phrase madcap in 2021? Who uses the phrase madcap in 2011? Who uses the phrase madcap in 2001? Who uses the phrase madcap in 1991? Who uses the phrase madcap in 1981? We're getting closer. Maybe 81. Who uses the phrase madcap in 1971? That's definitely a 71 or 61 phrase. Look at the madcap zany hijinks of these 4 as they engage in the trick-or-treat street fight. Terrible. How was the match? It's all right. People getting hit with kendo sticks and pumpkins. And then 2 of the guys who are dressed up attack. Candy corn kendo stick. Corbin and Madcap Moss win. The masked men in ghoul costumes reveal themselves to be Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, and the crowd goes mild. Elise Ashton is backstage with Sonya Deville, asking about the Naomi versus Shayna Baszler match. And then we go to it, and Naomi is shocked to learn that Sonya Deville, who has it in for her, makes herself the special guest referee, so she does a vest count. Shayna Baszler wins. Meh. Caleb Braxton's backstage with a New Day, asking King Xavier Woods, are you concerned that his reign is already being threatened? He acknowledges the threats, but with the hand of the king next to him, Knight Kofi Kingston, nothing can go wrong. It's time to dish out their very first royal ass whipping. Usos against New Day. They never say whether it's for the tag championship. I assume it's not, because they keep not mentioning it. And the New Day wins. So they beat the tag champs, but it's not a... Oh, WWE. What happened to you? Your ass used to be beautiful.